So I grew up over on Mobile Bay, and as I grew up there, we went from a river that we just played in, just had the best times of our lives in, and it changed to where you couldn't swim in it because you might get hepatitis or some bacteria. It was dredged up, we lost our oyster bars there. So the bay really, I saw this tremendous change in the health of the bay. And when I came to this area and began to see what a really unique place and what great care the people here were taking care of it, this became a place I wanted to be. I'm Dan Tonsmeyer, the river keeper for the Apalachicola River and Bay. There are about 250 or more river keepers, water keepers in the United States. We are all part of an umbrella organization called the Waterkeeper Alliance. Our mission is to try to bring stewardship and to advocate for protection of the Apalachicola River and Bay and develop a stewardship that will bring many people to the cause to help protect the river. Our area is just the Apalachicola. We're not a statewide organization. We are just Apalachicola. One of the biggest issues we have to try to protect the Apalachicola is the loss of freshwater flows, or the reduction in freshwater flows coming downstream from Georgia and Alabama. The impacts are showing up in both the river floodplain as well as in the bay. Here are these Tupelo cypress swamps are feeling some of the worst impacts because the floodplain that they grow in is drying out a lot more than it ever has before. What happens in these Tupelo swamps is when the tupelos don't come in and the ground is dry, the drier species can come in as seedlings, but then we still get these floods, and the floods wipe out those seedlings, so you wind up with nothing being there. So the periphery of the Tupelo swamps is where we're losing the trees. This is Owl Creek. We just came out of. We're right into the main river channel. We're 22 miles north of Appalach. We're about 87 miles south of Jim Woodruff Dam that we just left an hour ago. And we're about in the center of the floodplain here, which is about 3 miles wide in this area of the river. It's an interesting river for several factors. It's unique. It has the highest biological diversity of any river system in North America. So that says a lot. And that is partially because just of where we are in the climate, but we have more species of, when you add up the mammals, plants, reptiles, birds, fish, amphibians, we have more of everything than anywhere else, and that's remarkable for this day and age to have maintained all that diversity, because that's usually the first thing you lose. The second thing is that the bay, up until 2012 when it collapsed, was one of the most productive estuaries in the northern hemisphere, meaning acre for acre, it produced more oysters, shrimp, fish, crabs than most any other place on Earth, but especially in the northern hemisphere. This is the lowest gauge on the river that reads flow. The reason this is the lowest one, even though we're still almost 20 miles upriver, is that the river below here is tidally influenced. So you won't get a very accurate reading once you get down below, because the tide will disrupt your reading of the flow. So this is the last gauge. The little town you stopped for gas in, that was Sumatra, and this is the Sumatra gauge. I'm going to take you across the river over here to the Brickyard Cutoff, and I'll tell you exactly how that works. This is Brickyard Cutoff, and you can see water is going out of the main river and going into this slough, basically, is what it is. And it is actually carrying water all the way through the floodplain over to the Brothers River, which is an old ancient abandoned main river channel that is about 2 miles from here. Island that's between the Brothers River and the Apalachicola River is really just all part of the floodplain, and like I said, it's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles across, and this cutoff here runs all the way through and goes over to the Brothers, which is an ancient abandoned river channel. So it's as big or bigger in places than the Apalachicola is. It's deep, it's got holes that are 50 feet deep in it, deep places, and it was just in some cataclysmic type event, the river changed course and went down this direction over here. So you can see it's all tied together. This slough here breaks off 2 or 3 times and goes in different directions. Because it is basically a rural, undeveloped area, and a lot of the people here, have grown up for generations here, and they know way more about it than, by growing up and just living with it. This is where they recreate. This is where they come to socialize. The river is a part of them, and they are part of the river. Economically, it is their life support, and whether they are a commercial fisherman on the bay, whether they catch crawfish out in the floodplain, whether they harvest trees out of the floodplain, whether they just come and hunt and fish, all of that ties into the local economy. And if the ecosystem goes away as it has known to be, then that whole culture of how they really live, both from an economic perspective as well as socially and culturally, that gets destroyed, and that is as unique and as important as what the ecosystem provides itself. the entire river system functions together. It's not just the Apalachicola that starts at that dam and whatever water comes over it. It is a river system that has to work together so that the water that comes down the Chattahoochee and the Flint are coming at the right time and at the right quantity to mimic those natural flows that this whole ecosystem has developed off of. So right now we're at a very tipping point of whether this system will continue to be sustained, thrive, and be productive, or whether it is going to go the way of many ecosystems and river systems have gone to demise, to where they lose all of what's here. We have a Florida versus Georgia lawsuit in the U.S. Supreme Court at the end of this year, the early part of next year. And so they're very critical decisions, and I want to encourage folks to do whatever you think you can do. If you're in Georgia, if you're in Alabama, or if you're in Florida, all to try to get them to make decisions, to try to settle the lawsuit in a way that this river system continues to function ecologically as well as economically for the local population.